there's more than one side to a story, and obviously just presenting mine won't really help people understand yours. So just say something, Daniel. I don't want you to hide from people. There's more eyes on you now than ever before, so like just say something and then prove me wrong. Cause right now everyone's like making you out to be the bad guy, but I don't want anyone to be a bad guy. I want to resolve this with you, Dan. So please just say something.
This fucking guy. So, if you saw that Steven was streaming, but y'all ain't got time to sit through an hour and a half of talk, this is the TLDR of Steven and DanPlan. Steven left DanPlan because he wasn't being respected as an equal member of the channel, despite him being there to jumpstart DanPlan with Hosa and Daniel.
I was part of the DanPlan golden age, where we got millions of views on our videos, past 1 million subscribers, and you had the fucking gall to say that almost none of that was earned by me. That I played no part in it.
Steven was there since the beginning, and he's been working with DanPlan for years. It's no lie to tell you that Steven was an important member of DanPlan. I know for a fact that several people only started subscribing to DanPlan because of Steven, such an interesting character who honestly popped on screen. And they do mention that when the three of them are on screen together, their chemistry really incites their viewers and makes for an incredibly better video. And of course, they also mentioned that Steven didn't do as much work as the other two since he didn't animate and he didn't host. But they'd be lying if they told you that they would have made it there without Steven. I mean, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have made it where they are without Steven, but I am saying that they made it there because Steven was with them. This is how the events have played out. Steven was with DanPlan, Hosa, Daniel, Steven, all made it to where they are now, because they worked together. Then Steven released this little video, which was a complete overhaul of the relationship of Steven and DanPlan. This video revitalized Steven's channel, and decimated DanPlan's sub count. They went from 2.04 million subscribers down to 1.94. Damn, in less than a week. And if Daniel doesn't make a response soon, it's only going to keep going down from here. This also stirred up a lot of hate for Daniel, but this wasn't Steven's intent. He honestly wants to resolve these issues, but according to what Steven is saying about Daniel, he has no intention to even consider talking about this. Fucking guy.
Because it was like, I knew secretly deep down Daniel would try to replace me, but at the same time I didn't want it to be true. Because... And then Jay showed up out of nowhere trying to be Steven's 2.0, and I got super suspicious around that time. But it wasn't Jay's fault. Whenever your boss tries to replace you with like a lesser paid worker, you don't get angry at the lesser paid worker, you get angry at the boss who put that lower paid worker there.
It's honestly such a dick move for Daniel to not even address this. I mean, what asshole would let someone leave their channel and not even talk about it to inform their viewers? It's pretty clear that Steven is an integral part of DanPlan, but it's also very clear that Daniel was trying to replace him, as Daniel only saw Steven as an employee. It's obvious that Daniel had no intention of ever seeing Steven as more than a cog in a machine. The same way he treats his animators, apparently.
Because honestly, I didn't want to drag anyone into it. Because I have no doubt in my mind that Daniel will in fact retaliate against anyone who speaks out against him at this point. Which is why all the animators are so scared of saying anything to him. because they know for a fact that they will get fired or their wages will go down even more if they say anything. So I knew I had to say something for them. I'm okay with being a villain rather than a passive hero. I told that to Anne because she was a very neutral voice, and I wanted to tell her about the thing because she was one of the first guests that we brought on, and so she'll, I guess, kind of be a neutral party. Yeah.
And of course we know it isn't all about the money, but it certainly does not help that, well, Daniel is making many thousands, tens of thousands more than anyone else on the channel would be making. He is paying his animators and Steven barely minimum wage.
So, let's begin. When I said that the fight began 9 months ago in March, I meant it. We fought in the first half of March about the videos that we made in February. We made 3 videos in February. It was like love language, a game show, and something else. And those were the 3 videos that were generating, I guess like 5 figures. I'll say. I was being pretty vague, but let's use actual numbers. DanPlan makes about this much per month. Let's take the upper value, cut it in half. So just for like argument's sake. So how much is that? That's about 43,000. 43,000. Before our fight, before the March incident, I was being paid $25 per hour of recording. Per hour of recording. And each recording took at most 4 hours. At most. That's just like the longest ones. Each recording 1 to 2 hours. Okay, let's say $50 just to be generous to Dan. Okay, we released 3 videos that month. Okay, 50, 100, 150, less than $300. But you know what? Let's actually like amp it up a little bit. Let's round up to $200. $200. Daniel made $40,000. That's insane to me. I confronted him in March near the first beginning of the month, and I told him, hey, these numbers don't add up. Why am I getting literally less than $300? He's like, well, you're not a member or whatever. And so that's how our fight started. Daniel can like show how much he actually made during that time, but if just going off of Social Blade, that's not even counting all the sponsorships, all the merch that we sold. This is literally just raw views. I did find out that Hosa was being paid 50-50 until some time later when he suddenly went down to 15% rather than 50. Not 50, 15%. Daniel took the 85 and then just paid out whoever with like the 100%, which is insane to me. Hosa probably has reasons for it, but like it was just insane that I heard that. And then I asked him, hey Hosa, how much have you been paid? And he said 28,000. Okay, so let's assume that 28,000 is 15% of the total revenue, not even just like gross, like the total amount. It's just the amount that Daniel has made. So let's say, okay, so 28,000, 15%, do some multiplication and division. You end up with about $40,000 made in revenue, which is exactly the same as the Social Blade midpoint. The more I dove into it, the more I realized how many more people were being screwed. This is not just a me problem anymore. When I started digging, I started asking the animators, how much were you getting paid? And the answers kept being the same, about $450 per month. For a month of work, they get $450. And it's not even consistent. because sometimes it takes more than a month to make a video. But you still get $450. $450, let's say $450, just to be generous, for a month's work. That is insane. If my boss was paying me $450 for working full time, I'd quit the job.
But I digress. Point being, Steven quit DanPlan because he was being disrespected and Daniel was being dishonest and deceitful with his partners. Hossa and Steven attempted to resolve this issue, but Daniel was not having it. Daniel has yet to make a public response, or apparently even a private response. So we're in a bad place right now that sees very little positive coming out of this. And I'm still hoping this is, by the way, let's prank YouTube. Thanks for watching, and let's hope we get a response from Daniel soon.